That was Decoration by Dino Brandão. The half-Swiss, half-Angolan musician is considered one of the most promising young stars in the Swiss music scene, and he's definitely one you want to look out for. You might be familiar with his work with the band Frank Powers or his collaborations with Sophie Hunger. Well, he's recently gone solo. This autumn, he released his debut EP under his own name. It's called Bouncy Castle, and it features 5 afro-folk tracks. It's a multicultural melting pot of sunshine and yet melancholic songs as well. But before we join Dino Brandão, French designer Thierry Mugler, who was known for his bold and daring looks, has died at the age of 73. Thierry Mugler rose to fame in the 1980s and didn't shy away from being provocative. In recent years, looks he designed for stars like Beyoncé, Cardi B, and Kim Kardashian went viral, bringing in a new generation of fans.
Famed for creating looks that were flamboyant, provocative, and ultra-sophisticated, fashion designer Thierry Mugler's trailblazing creations dominated runways in the 1980s. Known for his signature Mugler woman silhouette with broad shoulders, a plunging neckline and a tiny waist, the designer drew inspiration from all manner of things like robots to mermaids. In 2019, Kim Kardashian's Met Gala look that Mugler created, a latex dress dripping in crystals, went viral, bringing the designer a whole new generation of fans. News of his death has rocked the fashion industry. Tributes have been pouring in. The singer Beyoncé, who Mugler often dressed, posted a photo of the designer on her website with the words "Rest in peace." Diana Ross also paid homage to Mugler, tweeting, "I will miss you. This was a wonderful time in our lives." With the launch of his first fragrance, Angel, the designer rose to perfume success. In 2003, the scent rivaled Chanel's No. 5 for the top spot in sales. The year before Mugler retired from fashion, he was always a director at heart and continued to work on spectacles. Thierry Mugler died Sunday at the age of 73.
Let's get back to our guest today, Dino Brandão. Thank you so much for being with us today on France 24. Unfortunately, because of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, we have to do this interview virtually, but it's a real pleasure to have you with us today. Congratulations on your first EP, Bouncy Castle. Very interesting EP, definitely recommend it. What inspired you to jump in and go solo with this release?
Yeah, it was... I mean, I've been producing records with bands for like the last, I don't know, more than 10 years now. And there was a moment where I realized that I have no idea how to actually change sound. When I learned playing some instruments, but I had no idea how to actually like modulate sound and how, yeah, like the whole production thing has never really been, we just kind of, yeah, left that open, and somehow the records would have come together somehow. And I wanted to produce, and so that's what I started a few years ago. And yeah, so I had so much fun recording myself and like producing. I find it pure bliss. Love it.
Well, Bouncy Castle certainly is a complex work of art that really oscillates between tropical melodies and darker folk tunes. You openly address some very heavy themes, like different sicknesses that have affected you. For instance, multiple sclerosis. You talk about this with a lot of honesty on the opening track of the EP, also the title of the EP, Bouncy Castle. What does the name refer to?
Yeah, I mean, it was also like one of the first songs that I would have, where I felt like, well, this is going to go somewhere. I felt comfortable, and I felt like, okay, this is not just an experiment in some old direction. I think I can actually take this seriously.
Let's listen to an extract of that song, Bouncy Castle. Take a listen.
On the knocking on my forehead, on the scar on my right leg, on the box with my old meds, I'm cool being scared. Honey, I've never been alone like this before, but it don't matter, no, it don't matter anymore.
That's the song Bouncy Castle by Dino Brandão. Now, that track talks about physical ailments, but also mental health. When you were younger, you spent some time in a psychiatric institute where doctors diagnosed you with a form of schizophrenia. In this EP, you really throw your heart and soul into it very openly. Are you hoping to break down taboos by addressing these somewhat sensitive issues so openly?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's never helped us anything if we silence out on whatever topics. And so I felt, as I also like this, like making music under my own name kind of like gave me so many questions about this name that I'm having as well. Because yeah, it's a big thing having this Portuguese name as an Angolan fellowship. I don't know. It's just like loads of things kind of came together when I decided to like really go with my own name. And so yeah, I felt like it's a moment of truth, and I tried to be as honest as one can. Because I find this very important, and I think that's what brings us further.
What's really interesting about your songs is the compositions are very complex. You layer all sorts of tracks, all sorts of sound textures and instruments. And there's one common theme, a kind of string that runs through them as well, which is the rhythm, Afro-Brazilian rhythms that are driven by percussion instruments inspired by what you were talking about there, your Angolan roots. You were born in Switzerland to a Swiss mother and an Angolan father who actually made some of these percussion instruments for you. How has this multicultural upbringing inspired you musically?
I mean, for this period of creation, I felt like it was absolutely essential, because I've never, for a long time I was never really able to kind of bring like the whole djembe and percussion stuff into like the music I would have played. And with like being able to produce, and then also like as I've layered so many Afro percussion, I would just like bring that on stage as well. And so yeah, it's definitely a big part of the music, and I've always been like, rhythm is like a big part. It ruins everything for me if it doesn't groove.
And what's great about your songs is there's a kind of form of family therapy that's going on here as well. You mentioned, for instance, that your father, who is Angolan, you've kind of processed a lot of his own past as well. The fact that he was a child soldier. Is this what you're trying to do in your songs? Is kind of work through this family legacy that you have?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've never really been like crazy good at like inventing like stories. So I always like drew from life when it came to lyrics, and so yeah, as I said, like he's got such a crazy biography, and like I think everyone kind of has, but I felt like I felt there was a moment where I felt like I'm a very modern kind of person on this globe. Like I see myself being one of these mixed kids from all over the place, which I think is quite a futuristic thing, because the longer things go on, the more will not be just French or not be just English or whatever. And so yeah, that was always an important thing for me, and I always felt like I want to pay tribute to that too, where the shit comes from.
Where all that inspiration comes from. Now, I read also that you were a street musician at one point. Was that an experience that taught you anything that you still use in your performances today?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was very much came out of a necessity. I was just like not having money, and I realized I want to be a musician, so I played in the streets, made some money. But I think, yeah, what it helps up until now, I think you have to learn to sing loud, because otherwise no one hears you. And I think that was definitely a thing, and especially here in Switzerland, it's also a bit. I always had like. It was not so easy getting to play like stages at an early stage. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it was, you kind of always have to like get in the zone and meet these people to actually then get a support slot somewhere and then all that stuff. And so for me, it was very cool to just be able to play in the street. And then I think it's very much a thing that I have no respect going on stage. I just go there and be what I am. And I think that definitely comes from like playing in the streets for such a long time, where, yeah, so I don't have to be scared. Just go and play music.
So it's a good school to get over stage fright, perhaps. We're gonna leave you with
I think so.
We're gonna leave you with some other music news coming from the British singer Miles Kane. He's releasing his 4th solo album. You're probably familiar with his previous bands, The Rascals and The Last Shadow Puppets, an extremely successful duo he co-founded with his friend Alex Turner from the Arctic Monkeys. This is his 4th LP. It's called Change the Show, and it's an experimental genre mashup of Northern Soul, Motown, and his own brand of indie rock. At 35, this may prove to be his most mature work yet. We're going to leave you with the title track, Change the Show. But before we go, I want to thank my guest, Dino Brandão. Thank you so much for being with us today on France 24. I strongly suggest that you check out his debut EP, Bouncy Castle. It's fun, dancey, troubling, and moving at the same time. Really looking forward to following your career. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some new releases, perhaps an album sometimes very soon in the future. For more arts and culture news, head to our website and stay in touch on social media. Stay tuned to France 24. More news is coming up right after this.
Psychedelic